A woman in her 50s sat across from me, frustrated. "I know I'm supposed to listen to my intuition," she said, "but how do I know if it's really my intuition or just my anxiety? How do I know if it's the self, as you call it, guiding me or my trauma speaking?" Now, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Everyone's talking about trusting your inner guidance, following your gut, listening to the universe, but nobody teaches you how to actually distinguish authentic guidance from all the other voices in your head. Today, I'm going to share with you what took me years to understand: how to attune to the cues from non-ego guidance, how to catch the whispers from what Carl Jung calls the self, how to know when to act and when to wait. This video is for you if you struggle to trust your intuition, if you wonder how to distinguish real guidance from fear or wishful thinking, or if you're ready to learn the actual practices of attunement. Stay until the end where I'll give you a practical framework for discernment. Save this video, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things you need to do here so that you stay attuned to my next episode. Hello, I'm Dr. RB. I'm a licensed psychologist in Florida and New York and PsyPact as well. If you're returning, welcome back. And if you're new here, I'm so glad that you found your way. This channel is a sacred space where depth psychology meets ancient wisdom, where spirituality, human design, and therapeutic tools come together to guide personal transformation. My mission is to help you reconnect with your authentic self and divine guidance, so you can navigate this rapidly changing world with clarity, purpose, and peace. So let's get into it. Let's start with a fundamental truth. Your psyche is not a monolith. There isn't just one voice inside of you. There are many, and learning to distinguish between them is essential. There's the voice of fear, usually rooted in past trauma or conditioning. It sounds urgent, catastrophic. "Don't do that, you'll fail. Everyone will judge you." There's the voice of ego, wanting to maintain status or control. It sounds strategic, calculating. "What will people think? How can I guarantee this works out?" There's the voice of your inner critic, often internalized from parents or culture. It sounds harsh, shaming. "You're not good enough. Who do you think you are?" There's the voice of wishful thinking or fantasy, trying to bypass reality. It sounds too good to be true because it usually is. "Everything will work out perfectly without any effort on my part." And then there's the voice of self, that deeper intelligence we've been discussing. It sounds different from all the others, but how? The self speaks with what I call calm authority. There's no hysteria, no force, no demand. Just a quiet certainty, a rightness, a yes, this the way. That doesn't need to convince you because it simply just knows. The self often speaks through body, not the tight, anxious sensations of fear, but a relaxation, an opening, an alignment. Your body literally says yes or no if you learn to listen. The self also communicates through synchronicity and symbols. Have you ever noticed how when you're on the right path, things seem to flow, doors open, the right people show up, there's a sense of support from life itself? Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. People often ask, how do I trust myself and surrender at the same time? If I'm supposed to let go and trust the universe, how do I also exercise discernment? This is the beautiful paradox, and resolving it is a key to mature spirituality. First, you want to trust yourself and trusting something greater than yourself. These are not opposites, they're complementary. You trust your capacity to attune, you trust your ability to listen deeply and respond courageously, and you trust that there's an intelligence moving through life that is worthy of your cooperation. Think of it like learning to sail. You trust yourself to read the wind, adjust the sails, steer the boat, and you trust the wind itself. You couldn't sail without it. Both trust in yourself and trust in the larger forces are necessary. Second, surrender doesn't mean turning off discernment. It means holding your discernment within a larger context of trust. You stay alert, you notice red flags, you honor your boundaries, but you do all this while remaining open to being surprised, to being led in directions you didn't anticipate. Contemporary spiritual psychological perspectives emphasize this. You need to listen both to your body-based caution and to the larger intelligence, what some call spirit, moving through your life. Both, not one or the other. This is where trauma-informed spirituality becomes so important. If you have a history of trauma, your nervous system might give you false alarms. It might perceive danger where there is none. So you can't just automatically trust every sensation. You need to work with a skilled therapist to learn to distinguish between genuine warning signals and trauma triggers. But neither can you override your body's wisdom with spiritual bypassing, telling yourself, I'm just supposed to trust, when every cell in your body is screaming danger. That's how people end up in harmful situations. So let's get practical. How do you actually develop this capacity for attunement? Practice 1. Do a morning check-in before you start your day. Before you check your phone or jump into planning, sit just for 5 minutes, put your hand on your heart, and ask, what do I need to know today? And then listen. Not with your thinking mind, but with your whole being. What arises? An image, a word, a feeling? Don't judge it, don't analyze it, just receive it. Practice 2. The body scan for decision making. When facing a decision, don't immediately go to your thinking mind. Instead, imagine each option and notice what happens to your body. With option A, does your chest expand or contract? Does your breathing deepen or become shallow? Do you feel energized or drained? Your body often knows before your mind catches up. Track these responses over time and you'll start to see patterns. Practice 3. Following the thread, pay attention to what captures your attention. Not in a superstitious way, but cautiously. That book that keeps showing up, that conversation sparking something in you, that dream symbol that won't leave you alone. The self often communicates through what draws us. Follow the thread with curiosity and see where it leads. 4. Dream work. Your dreams are direct messages from the unconscious. You don't need to become a dream expert, but you can start paying attention. Keep a journal by your bed. Write down whatever you remember, even if it's just a feeling or an image. Over time, you'll start to notice recurring themes, symbols, and messages. This is the self trying to get your attention. 5. The pause practice. When you feel urgency or compulsion to act, pause. Just pause. Urgent ego says, now, you must do this now. The self is patient. It can wait for you to find clarity. So practice pausing. Sit with the discomfort of not immediately acting. Often right action reveals itself when you start forcing it. Let me give you some guidelines for distinguishing authentic guidance from imposter voices. Ready? I call these red flags. And these are indications that it's probably not yourself. If it demands immediate action with no room for reflection, not the self. If it promises perfection or a completely pain-free path, definitely not the self. If it contradicts your core values or ethics, if it requires you to abandon your boundaries or sacrifice yourself, not self. If it makes you feel smaller, less capable, or shamed, it isolates you from support or trust in others, definitely not self. Here are some ways to know it is self. If there's a quality of rightness, even though it's challenging, it aligns with your deepest values and your becoming. It asks you to grow, not shrink. It respects your pace and capacity. It includes both challenge and support. It brings a sense of aliveness, even if there's some fear. Otherwise, people in your life can see the wisdom in it. Here's a crucial distinction. The self will often ask you to do hard things, yes, to face your fears, to take risks, to leave comfort zones, but it won't ask you to violate yourself. There's a difference between stretching beyond your comfort zone and betraying your own integrity. And remember, you can always test guidance. You can take one small step and see what happens. The universe doesn't need you to leap off a cliff to prove your faith. It's fine to wade in carefully, noticing how it feels as you go. One of the most important skills in attunement is knowing when to act and when to wait. Both are necessary. Both are valid responses to guidance. Sometimes the self says, now, this is your moment. Step forward with courage. And you feel it. You feel the energy and you do it. There's a readiness. There's an alignment. A sense of, yes, even though I'm scared, this is mine to do now. Other times the self will say, wait, not yet. Let this ripen. Let this seed grow. Things will reveal themselves. And you feel that too. A groundedness in waiting, a trust that the right moment will come. The ego hates waiting. The ego wants to force things into being. So when you're waiting, the ego will often create panic. You're falling behind. You're going to miss this opportunity. Do something, anything. But forced action from that place rarely leads to anywhere good. It's action from anxiety and not wisdom. How do you know the difference? Again, check the body. Forced action feels tight, anxious, and desperate. Aligned action feels clean, even if it's also a little scary. There's a yes underneath that fear. And wise waiting feels grounded, patient, open. Avoidant waiting feels heavy, numb, or secretly relieved because you don't actually want to face what's ahead. This discernment takes practice. You'll sometimes get it wrong. And then there's the part of learning. But over time, you develop a sense for that difference. You learn to trust the rightness of your timing. So let me bring in another voice that's important here. Existential psychologist Rollo May, in his book, The Courage to Create, May writes that every act of creation, every genuine step forward, involves the destruction of the old. Think about that. To create something new, you have to release previous forms. You have to step into the unknown. You have to let parts of your old identity die so something truer can emerge. It's like the cocoon with the butterfly inside merging, ready to pop out of that and fly. It's in that chrysalis stage that we emerge from. So May says that this requires courage, but not just any courage, a specific kind. The courage to engage in uncertainty, to shape your own becoming, to step forward even when you can't see the full path. This connects directly to our topic. When you're learning to follow non-ego guidance, you're often asked to release forms that the ego has invested heavily in. Maybe it's a relationship that's no longer aligned. Maybe it's a career you thought you'd have forever. Maybe it's an image of yourself that no longer fits. The self might be whispering, it's time to let this go. And the ego is terrified because letting go feels like death. And May would say, that's exactly right. It is a kind of death. The death of what was so that what's trying to emerge can be born. Again, the butterfly, the chrysalis, The chrysalis is all about that caterpillar dissolving into mushiness, into liquid, and then emerging as something totally different. And here is what May understood. This is not passive. Creation isn't just letting life happen to you. It's actively, courageously engaging with the unknown and participating in the emergence of something new. We are co-creators. So when you're attuned to the self, when you're catching those cues, you're not just receiving instructions. You're being invited into co-creation. The self shows you the direction. You bring the courage to walk that direction. Together, something emerges that wouldn't exist otherwise. As you develop this capacity for attunement, something profound shifts in how you move through the world. You stop second-guessing yourself constantly because you're learning to trust your interior compass. You still consult with others, still value wisdom from outside, but you're no longer giving your authority away. You start to notice the support that has always been there. The way things work out in ways you couldn't have planned. The right conversation at the right time, the unexpected help that arrives just when you need it. You become more comfortable with uncertainty because you know you're being guided even when you can't see the full picture. The anxiety about needing to control everything starts to lift or fade away. You discover a kind of creative engagement with life. You're not just reacting to circumstances, you're participating with what wants to emerge through you. You're living your work as a work of art, co-created with the intelligence of the self. This is what Carl Jung meant by individuation, becoming who you actually are and guided by the self, rather than who conditioning told you to be. It's the work of a lifetime, and it starts with learning to listen, learning to catch the cues, learning to trust that quiet, authoritative voice that knows the way. If today's message resonated, I invite you to subscribe, like, or share this video with someone who needs it. It helps us work to reach those that need it the most. You can also find me on other social medias. I'll have the links below for deeper dives, personal reflections. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I know your time is valuable. Remember, you're guided, you are loved, and your path is sacred. Until next time, take good care of your soul.